Well, hello friends, I'm David Vose. Today is December the 20th. It is 2016. It's great to see everybody today. Well, friends, I am just, I don't know. I don't even know what to say about this. I shouldn't even have put that video out yesterday about the flat earth. I really thought that would just do it. People would just see the empirical evidence and say, oh, but nobody even really watched the video. I have 2-to-1 people that are putting the thumbs down on it. And so a lot of people will say, ha 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 ha, you're stupid, and you're going to lose your subscribe, and they just call me names, and it's just, okay. I know that, thoughtful people who watch my videos and stuff aren't going to just unsubscribe. I know these are just little babies out there throwing their tantrums, and little babies don't know a lot. They're caught up in this, this movement. It's like a religion to them. They're fanatics. They went out one night and they looked up into the heavens and they said, hey, how do I really know if the earth is flat or round or whatever? I'm just going to, I've been lied to. So rather than doing any actual research with factual evidence, looking and reading and taking the time to do real research, I'm just going to read some Johnny-come-lately guy. He's got a website, and he says everybody knows that if you do this or that, they say stuff like, well, if the earth was round, then you should be able to see the earth's curvature. But you can't. See, you can't. So therefore the earth is... Friends, this is the whole thing. They're lying to you. Or they don't even know if they know it, but they're repeating stuff that they've heard. You can see the earth's curvature. You can see the earth. They say, oh, well, if the earth was really a sphere, then when ships come on the horizon, you'd see them rising, but you don't. And I hear people saying you can get as high as you want on a mountain or whatever, and you still don't see the curvature, and distance isn't longer. That's not true. It is. You see, I don't know too many people that are able to actually go out, people who aren't working for maybe NASA or some agency of the government that has all this money and they can do these experiments. This guy in the backyard that I talked about with his telescope, he doesn't have the money to actually do these experiments. And you're listening to him tell you that if you get up on top of your house, you can't see farther. Because he did it and he found out you can't. Well, he's wrong. You can. A lot of the stuff you're hearing is not true. And then when you show people just one empirical fact, they don't listen because they've got all these other facts in their head they're claiming. But these aren't really facts, friends. They're just thoughts in their head. Now, I'm going to go through a bunch of proofs, and I know that everybody's going to say, oh my goodness, Dave, you're so stupid, that's not true, and blah, blah, blah. Look, I'll leave it up to those of you out there to decide what you want to believe in. I honestly, I think if I had a picture, if I went out and snapped a picture and showed you guys absolute verifiable proof, if I could get way out there in space and show you the sphere of the earth, you'd say, that's a fake picture, Dave. Right? Or there isn't any evidence that would satisfy anyone who believes in the flat earth, because the earth is, so huge, I cannot, of my own, get up and go out into space and take a picture for you. The only thing I can do is use empirical evidence, which people have been doing for thousands of years. Aristotle did a lot of experiments, and if you are sincere, friends, and you read about Aristotle and his experiments, you'll see that they knew the earth was round 1000 BC. They've known this. The Egyptians knew that the earth was round. How do I know that? Because I know what Baalbek was created for. these huge stone platforms were landing sites for ships that came from other planets. You see, people live on other planets, friends, and they arrive on the earth, and this is biblical. The Nephilim in the Bible is the story of those who came from heaven to earth, and it's spoken of very, very clearly in the Sumerian tablets, but you must do the research for yourself, friends. You've got a lot of people that perhaps perhaps you know all this information that I've been explaining about the Sumerians and the Anunnaki and all these things, and you believe all this, right? But at the same time, somehow you believe in the flat earth. Well, if the earth is flat, then what kind of a system do you have in your mind when you imagine this flat earth in space and people coming from round planets on ships? This doesn't really make any sense to me, but I suppose you could somehow imagine this. But the thing of it is that if you have any particular theory, it's got to be your own private theory, because there isn't any consistent theory on the flat earth. There is a consistent model where the earth is a sphere, just like the moon is. We know the moon is a sphere. It's not a piece of cheese, friends. It's not a, I know in the ancient days they called the moon a god. All right? This is why they named all the days of the week after the gods. Thor's Thursday, and Woden's Day, and Moon Day, or Moon Day, or Sunday, the Sunday. And these were gods, right? And the Greeks had names, and the Romans had different names, and Mayans had different names. Well, guess what, friends? We found out the moon's not a god. Do you understand? The moon's not a god, and it's not held up by the pillars of Hercules. What I'm trying to tell you is these gods are archetypes. They're not really gods. And these and this cosmology where it talks about heaven and hell, this is astrology. It's a description not of the actual physical dimensions of our earth, that heaven is up there and there's hell's down there. Jesus didn't really want you to believe that his Father was in the sky. But when you're talking to individuals on the earth, like for instance today, if I say, oh, well, where are you going to go when you die? And I say, well, I'm going to heaven. See, I personally do not mean I'm going to the sky. So we have a problem because of the English language, and because of ancient times not having as much empirical data as we do today, and therefore they had to explain things symbolically. And they had this area beneath around the circular astrological chart, the 6 signs on the bottom were Hades, and there are various realms of Hades, and the very lowest realm of Hades was Tartarus. And they were describing the sun going down over the horizon and dying. And then when the sun went up in the heavens and shined, it was resurrected. Horus was resurrected, the baby Horus, and he became radiation in the sky. And he bound Satan, Saturn, the devil, the goat Capricorn, right? The goat-headed god. He bound him in hell. And there were cycles, and this is describing the cycles of the moon and the sun and the stars, and they made them out to be gods. And then when you go down to after Christ, the Gnostics, they tried to understand all this. They didn't understand as much as we do today, because at that time it was still in the Dark Ages. This wasn't back 12,000 years ago with Atlantis, when they had ships coming and going from the earth, and they knew all of this stuff. We're living in the Dark Ages, and we're just now coming into having tools and technologies whereby we can verify a lot of this. But most of you, the people that are doing this to us are telling us things that aren't true, and so we're skeptical, and I don't blame you. Now, I'm not asking you, friends, to believe everything that people have told you, science or NASA or anything else. I wouldn't believe half of what they say. But this thing about the Earth being a sphere has nothing to do with modern NASA. Or I hear a lot of you saying, "Oh, it's the Vatican, that darn Vatican. They're trying to deceive us." Oh, if any of you watch my videos, a lot of you come in on this because you're a flat earther, and you watch this one video, you don't know about all my other videos. I don't believe in the Vatican. They're liars. And I don't believe in the elite and all the lies that they've told us. But guess what? The Vatican believed the earth was flat. They're the ones who were lying to us. See, Aristotle knew the earth was round. Okay, but all of a sudden, the Catholic Church didn't want you to believe that we were in a vast universe on a planet, and we could leave this planet, and we could have knowledge. They didn't want us to know the truth, that we were independent. They wanted us to believe that we were worthless sinners and we were going to go to hell. So they took this astrological cosmology and duped us into believing that it was just real, that the earth was actually it. That's it. That's all there is. And everything revolves around us, the earth. And they were our gods, and we had to do whatever the Catholic Church said. And so when Copernicus and Galileo came along and said the earth is round, they wanted to put him to death. And they murdered many of these people that you're all upset. Oh, you're a Freemason, Dave. Originally, Freemasons became secretive because they were murdering them, because they were teaching the truth. It was the Catholics who were teaching the lie, friends. And you're now being duped by a conspiracy that's going all over the internet to disinform, and disinform you. I'm certain that most of the people, not most of them, I don't think most of them, but I think a lot of the people that are going on to channels like mine are going on in droves sometimes to promote disinformation. Some of them are paid actors. And some of you actually believe their stuff without looking into it. Don't be duped, friends. As I said in the last video, there are some very smart and amazing individuals that are being duped right now. Just using flimsy little arguments that aren't really accurately being described, and it's not good information. You really must look into the information, friends, the real and true, and it's not going to take a minute. You're going to have to look at several arguments. Okay, have you ever noticed that there have been a lot of people that from 1,000 years ago, that 2,000-3,000 years ago, that knew that the earth was round. But of course, like I said, they knew the earth was round, obviously, back in the days of Atlantis. And you read this in a lot of these, that's a bunch of baloney, Dave. That's all lies. There's no Sumerian tablets. There were no gods that came to the earth. Well, most of you know that there was. Most of you done some reading, and you know that the Anunnaki came here on ships. So, I don't think I need to argue that with all of you. But I'm going to give you several different reasons real quickly that are absolute if you just look, nothing I'm going to say is going to convince some of you. But for those of you who want to really know the truth and you want to look into this, look at this information, not just quickly, but look into it carefully if you really want to know the answer and you're confused. But take, for instance, the moon. It has eclipses. When the Earth's orbit places it directly between the sun and the moon, there's a shadow on the moon's surface. And it's the Earth's shadow. And you can see it's a round shadow. And this gives us a clue that the Earth might be spherical. But it's, okay, you say, well, maybe it's just a round disk up there. But you see, since the Earth is rotating, we're looking at different sides of the Earth. And so, because of its rotation, when you see that circle, that shadow on the moon, that proves that the Earth is a sphere because it's rotated this time. And you're getting the shadow, it's still a circle. So this is one proof that the Earth is a sphere, not just a round disk. And then the ships over the horizon thing, most of you, a lot of flat earthers don't believe this, right? It's empirical evidence, but they don't believe it because they can't see it. Most of you aren't going to go out and do this experiment for yourself, so you're going to read somewhere that somebody said it doesn't work, and so therefore it's not true, but it is true. At some point, if you're just going to do your research on the internet, you're going to have to believe scientists who make experiments, who have money to do these experiments correctly, And those experiments line up with ancient philosophers thousands of years ago, and everybody's been consistent. You have to make a decision based on reality here, friends. You can't just go by some few people today who are trying to promote this disinformation. But when ships come over the horizon, they come up from the horizon. See? Like they're coming up out of the water. And this proves that they're coming around the horizon, like as if an ant was walking on an orange, and you put the orange in front of your face, and as the ant walks up over the horizon, you see him rise up over the orange. And this is an actual observation that you can do yourself. But probably it's not going to be a great observation if you don't actually go out to the ocean one day and see a ship coming up, or you got to have a circumstance that you got to have a set of circumstances that are going to make it easy for you to make this experiment. Otherwise, you're going to have to go by what others say, and there's a lot of crackpots today saying it's not true. There's the varying star constellations. The further you go from the equator, the further the known constellations go towards the horizon, and then they're replaced with different stars. I talked about this in my last video, but people just ignored that. Everybody was like, you don't know what you're talking about, but nobody even acknowledged the point I made in the video. I only made one point, basically, in the video. I didn't try to explain every other point, but no one wants to actually discuss that point that I made, that there's a different pole star on both sides, and different constellations that appear in the south that you cannot see in the north. And so, this is something that Aristotle did when he went, way back in the day. Aristotle noticed that there were stars that he could see in Egypt and Cyprus, which he could not see in the northern regions. And he said that this phenomenon can only be explained with a round surface. And so, there have been experiments that have been done going way back, friends. And none of these great, people who invented geometry. People, do you really think, any of you, that you could do what Galileo did 500 years ago? The man was a genius. Copernicus, have you ever done any research on these people? They were very intelligent, and they made observations. They didn't always agree, but science together has basically begun to add upon line and make observations, and makes certain observations became fact, and then the next group of scientists that came later accepted those established theories. Now, sometimes theories are wrong. I understand this, friends, but not always. Another way you can tell that the Earth is round, just go on an airplane, friends. And I know, again, a lot of you are going to say, nope, that's not true, and I know pilots don't believe it, but most pilots do believe it. And most people that take a lot of airplane flights can see that the Earth has a round curvature. You can look at the other planets. They're all spheres, like I said. You can look at history and add to that about how the Anunnaki came here from Nibiru. They talk about going through the solar system. They saw the asteroid belt. They explained how that happened. They explained the colors of Saturn and Uranus, the rings around Saturn, and the gaseous planet of Jupiter. They explain it, the spots on Jupiter, everything. They knew how large these planets were, their rotations. They had to have been out there to know all this stuff. How about the existence of time zones, friends? Do you understand that this is not just some theory? All right, you can go right now on your phone and make a phone call to somebody in Japan, and they can verify the time of day, whether the sun is up or whatever. It's dark on the other side of the earth, friends. It is light over here. Think about it. I know with only just a little bit of thought, you might get confused and think, well, maybe there's another explanation, and maybe it's like a corkscrew, and the earth is just a big flat disk, and the sun's going around, and it's just up there a few hundred feet. Friends, the sun's not up in the sky a few hundred feet. We're not living in a small little dome that's only 1,000 miles, 2,000 or 3,000 miles high. Just think about it, friends. thinking about it for a moment, you would probably kind of imagine that that can't probably be true, that we're living in some sort of snow globe. What would happen if you went to the end of the earth? Would you fall off? Imagine, friends, really imagine this. If you notice that when water falls from the sky, it forms little droplets. If you notice that a hurricane is caused from heat and cold coming together, and the high pressure and the low pressure, and a hurricane spins and everything is sucked up in the center and forms a ball in the center. And you say, well, it doesn't form an earth in the center. It's not exactly the same. Well, no, because of the differences of mass, different materials that's made out of. A hurricane's mostly just wind and sticks going in the, But if you're talking about matter and antimatter and all of the whole universe, what happens is that there is negative and positive, and it creates these vortices, this thing we call gravity, and the energy forms these more kind of like a donut, like people are saying, because there's a positive flow and a negative energy, and it forms a ball in the center, and the electromagnetism is created by this. Look at a motor and see how the copper wires are wrapped to get the flow of electricity strong and makes a magnet and pulls things in. If you don't believe in magnetism, go get a magnet. There are lots of reasons why we know that our theories are basically correct when it comes to science and the spherical earth and electricity. I don't agree with everything that they say about electricity, but I'll tell you something. There is such a thing as a magnet. There is such a thing as gravity, an object that pulls in. And I hear a lot of people making silly comments like, well, why is it that water don't stick to a ball? Because the ball is very small, and the water is going to be attracted to the earth because it's much larger. It has mass. And, I can't explain every argument, friends, in this small video, but I'm just trying to make another video real quickly to show that there are lots of reasons to believe that there is a spherical earth. The force of attraction, gravity, it depends on the mass. And so then there's this thing that everybody's saying this, we don't have any pictures. Well, in the past 60 years, they've had a lot of space exploration. And I understand that I don't particularly believe we went to the moon. I have my doubts about that. I seriously don't believe we have gone to the moon. But I do believe we've launched satellites, friends. I think it's verifiable. I do believe that we have satellites up in the sky. And I do believe that I have direct TV, friends. And I know that my phone is operating from towers. Yes, I know that. But the towers, I can phone somebody all the way to Japan on the other side of the earth, friends. There is satellites. And just to give you one little piece of information or evidence, I came out here to Texas and I wanted to get some fast internet at my place, and so my ranch is out there in the middle of nowhere, and I thought I was going to get AT&T internet, but I couldn't get it. And all they had available out there was HughesNet. And they were going to give me this internet, and I ended up getting it, and they said, oh, but it's only like 20 megabytes, and it was like useless. It wasn't even worth getting. I couldn't hardly even use it. But I'm paying for it. Well, I didn't know why this was the case. If it's coming from a satellite, why can't they bump it up as many gigabytes as I need or whatever? Well, it turns out that the entire western part of the United States, they have only got one satellite launched up there that's not good enough to give everybody all of this megabytes and so forth. It's a smaller satellite. But everybody on the East Coast, they have a lot more satellites and bigger ones and so forth. So you can get more megabytes and gigabytes per second or whatever it is, So if they were really just using towers like so many people think, and it wasn't really coming from a satellite, then why would it be the entire western part of the United States that was blocked from getting faster internet? I think their explanation that they didn't have enough satellites in the western part of the United States makes sense to me. So, I mean, you can doubt everything you hear. That would mean that internet companies were colluding with the government and NASA, and nobody could make any mistakes, or else we'd all find out the truth, right? This doesn't make sense, friends. So, friends, I'm going to go ahead and close this. I know there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be hating on me, but let's just put it this way, friends. This is just some food for thought. If you don't agree with me, fine. But if you want to discuss this in the, in the little, discussion box, let's be civil. I don't need any shills or trolls on here. Please, if you have a question, I'll be happy to try and answer it for you. If you have a theory, or if you want to give me an explanation. But let's discuss the things that I mention in this video, not a million other little reasons why. Because we could discuss a million, things. But what about the verifiable things that I have given? Let's discuss those things, and let's come to an accurate decision. I mean, a lot of people just have thrown up their hands and said, we can't, there's nothing we can do. People believe what they believe. There's no way to get any middle ground here. I don't believe that. Any truth seeker out there who really wants to know the truth, I believe that we can discuss this and come to a conclusion. If there is a way to come to an accurate conclusion, then we can do that if we want to. Let's get that information, let's put it out, and let's squash this, because I believe this disinformation is destroying people. And I've got some examples that I could give you, but I won't do it in this video, where it is taking people off of what is important and making them crazy. This is disinformation. They're making you believe that everything on the internet is stupidity. A lot of people go on the internet now and they see all this stuff and they say, these people must be crazy. I'm not going to listen to the internet no more. Because when somebody says that there's an Anunnaki, that's probably not true because it sounds crazy. See? So it's disinformation to get us talking about stupidity, like that video that came out that said the mountains were trees, and then everybody believed it. Or this Mandela effect that says that we're all just slipping away and our memories are all changing and they're changing reality. That's not true, friends. I know that the Bible says that the lamb shall lie down with a wolf. I remember it. Not everybody remembers it that way because perhaps they didn't read the Bible that much. They just saw the little pictures and stuff that were being banded around during the 70s and stuff. And there was lots of paintings with a lamb and a lion, and so that's what we thought it was. But it was really a lamb and a wolf all along. So anyway, there's just a lot of disinformation and things that, go make you think, and then we get off on crazy ideas that we just, it's one thing to speculate, friends, but don't accept something as a fact when you don't know for sure. Keep an open mind and let's review all the information. So this is David Vos. I'm going to go ahead and sign out. You guys have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.